In the beginning, before the beginning, there were drums and hymns, and a people carried here from another here, and a language stripped, and a new one learned, with the songs to go with it. Hanif Abdurakib. Be in the right place, at the right time, among the right people, for the right reason. Sister Seraphine Amulen, my former headmistress. I think you guys might be thinking about yourselves too much. Jemima Kirk. What do you do the day you look into the mirror and do not recognize the reflection of this thing you think is yourself? Good morning. My name is Ashanut Daniela Odong, and I'm a sixth former from Kampala, Uganda. What do you do the day you look into the mirror and do not recognize the reflection of this thing you think is yourself? I have been many people at many times, in many ways, many places, known by many names. And somehow, still on most days, it feels like no one has ever really known me. These last few months, I have dealt with the thought of all those different people being the girl that is standing here now, before all of you. If you met my mother today and asked her about Asia, she'd probably stop herself for a second before realizing who you were talking about. Coming to Westminster, I made the executive decision to no longer use my name, Daniela, and instead go by Asia. It took a while to even break away from the double name Asia Daniela, but all I wanted was a fresh start. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I morphed myself into the contents of my admissions file and set aside everything I had known about myself for this new version of me. It was only when I went home to Uganda for breaks that I realized just how different I was becoming. Deep inside, if you looked past the exterior, you could probably catch a glimpse or two of the real her. She was still confident, held her ground in any debate, willing to do anything to make the people around her smile. She was still there. The biggest issue wasn't my name. I came to that conclusion at this writing summer camp that wrapped up my first year in the United States. This was the first time I was surrounded by just writers. I wasn't asking people if they read books as a leading question to investigate whether they might be writers at all. I was saying hello and asking if they wrote poetry or prose or drama. It was such a groundbreaking experience because it validated everything I had done up until that point. The drafts and redrafts of old poems and stories, the spoken word performances that had taken weeks to prepare for, it was all worth it because other writers, younger and older, saw value in my craft. But in the place where I should have been the happiest and the freest, my biggest worry was a sort of secret, but the kind that refuses to be kept a secret. It let itself out on multiple occasions, like when I first got to the airport in Iowa and said hello to a group of oddly fashionable kids. It slipped. It slipped again on our bus trip to the camp, while cornfields were being dragged across the glass window above the speed limit. It slipped again at a local Chipotle, while getting to know my new camp friend group. The not-so-secret secret was my accent. Planes have this magical effect. If a flight is long enough, you might find yourself thinking over the deep, concerning, therapy-needing parts of your life. On my flight to camp, I had been reflecting on my first year in the United States, my first year at Westminster, my first year getting to live through what I had grown up seeing in those early 2000s high school movies. Even on that flight, I knew that the persona I had taken on for the year wasn't entirely me. The name change had been intentional, but after that, everything else spiraled. And I found myself where we started this chapel talk today, in the metaphorical mirror, wondering who on earth I even was. As the pilot's alert of descent breezed on the wings of the plane static, I was making a promise to myself, saying, no one at this camp knows you. You can just be yourself. But I should have known that after a year of pretending to be someone else, I didn't even know who I was. And so I couldn't just be her. And because my whole life is basically built on language and words, I should have guessed that my tongue would give it away. At the baggage claim, I reminded myself to just be Ugandan.